Rolando, if you're so kind to join me here.
Hello.
Oh, my friend.
Thank you.
So first of all, congratulations on your recital on Tuesday. You brought down the house. Standing ovations,
Thank you.
Rhythmic clapping with a Spanish song recital.
Exactly. Latin American and Spanish.
That's
yes.
right, Spanish language.
Yeah.
And some Portuguese, right?
Yeah, there was one Brazilian
Right,
composer.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and fantastic.
Very special moment.
And
As always here.
yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, here in Salzburg, you usually have two roles. And now you have two roles, as a singer, as a performer, as a tenor, and also, if you like, as a curator for concerts, as the artistic director of Mozart Woche. That's always happening here at the end of January in Salzburg. And so what is your approach to curation when you put together a festival season, a concert program? I mean, you've probably digested all 626 works by Mozart, I assume, right? So what's your approach? What has been your approach when you compiled that repertoire for the radio station?
I mean, the most important thing, now speaking quite concretely about Mozart, the great genius, is I actually met Mozart in 2010. Of course, I knew about Mozart. Of course, I have heard the music and the operas, and I loved Mozart. But I really got to know Mozart in 2010 when I was asked to record Don Ottavio, our first of the last 7 operas of Mozart that we are recording. And before I learned the role, I decided to read the letters of Mozart. And reading the letters of Mozart then took me to biographies of Mozart and to essays about Mozart. And then I understood what it is to enter into the world and the universe of Mozart. One can debate whether he's the greatest musician of all time. I say yes, but that would be a long debate with beers and tequila.
Okay.
And with this
I'm up for
wonderful
that.
app to go through the music. But we all agree that he's the most beloved composer of all time. And there is a reason why. Because when you meet Mozart, you really find a friend for the rest of your life. You find this light, you find this, I say, like a little bird that suddenly breaks a cage inside of you and keeps flying all the time. And it is with you all the time, in the good times, in the bad times, because he was a composer. And when you meet the human being, the man who was here in Salzburg, who was born in this house, he was somebody who made music with the people, for the people. He was somebody who life was important to create a music. It was not a composer that worked in the abstract or in a lonely house. This is a romantic vision of the music. He was pre-romantic, he was a classic, and he was really a man with the people. So, to answer the question, when I'm putting together the Mozart Woche, to me is exactly that. How can I give to those who still have not entered the Mozart universe the possibility, open that door so that they find that bird, so that this bird breaks the cage, so that this light comes into their lives? And this is something very important. How can the music, how can all the events that come together tell the story and makes us curious about the genius and the composer, so that we find this wonderful friend? And in the case of what I did here, in collaboration with the wonderful Yellow Label, is to show the great variety of genius in the music of Mozart, that to help the people discover the chamber music, the sacred music, the opera music, the concert music, the symphonic music. So in all these facets, which, Mozart was able to create masterpieces, the genius of Mozart was able, how to enter into 626 works, how to make a selection that allows us to get to know, of course, the melodies, like Eine kleine Nachtmusik that everybody knows, but how to put it together in a way that comes also with the piano concertos, that it was the voice of Mozart. The piano was the voice of Mozart. The friendship of Mozart, the clarinet concerto that he wrote for his friend, you know that very well, of course. And the chamber music that was so important. This house was full of music all the time. The Mozart family, that's how they lived. Do we still have more time? No.
Of course, anytime.
Anyway, and it's in that, the goal for that is, it can be scary for somebody who, well, yeah, I like Mozart, but I have no idea, you know, I know this and this, but other, I don't know, is it a masterpiece? Am I supposed to listen to this? To give the chance for people to say, well, you know, from my experience and from what I love, from what I have learned, from what I have performed, from what makes me completely adore this composer, I would have this selection and give it to you so that you can go through this. From this, I hope to make you hungry enough to discover more in each of the fields that we are putting together.
Let me return to one metaphor you used, that bird breaking the cage. And let me ask you a question. What melody, what song does that bird chirp for you?
What melody has that song for me?
That bird.
It's so many melodies. I mean, I have to say, the image of the bird comes, and it comes very good in the story of Mozart, and that's why I love Mozart's anecdotes, because Mozart, coming out of Vienna, goes into the street and listens that somebody is whistling the beginning of the third movement that he just composed and that nobody had heard. He had just sent the music to the father. And the beginning of the third movement, somebody's whistling. So he follows, comes to the market, and there is a little bird, a little starling bird, whistling the beginning. So in one of the letters, he actually writes down, this is what I compose, this is what the bird, the melody of the bird, and it was very beautiful. He made only one mistake. One note was an F sharp, I think, and the other was a G. And he bought the bird. And he lived with this bird for 3 years. And when the bird died, he wrote a poem for the bird. And he did a burial, very serious burial for this bird. And that speaks about the personality of Mozart. So the image of the metaphor of the bird is actually a Mozartian metaphor. And I mean, we're talking about this, but we're talking about, I would love also to say that the Mozart Woche, the idea of doing 5 years of only Mozart music, and that's why I'm very happy that we did this Mozart curation together, is for me to allow us to hear these anecdotes, to discover the man that is much more than the Amadeus we know from the film, because he was also a man of the Enlightenment, a very smart person, very curious intellectual, a very spiritual human being, a very serious artist. And yes, he was also a clown and a jester, and it was a wonderful person to be around and to play billiards with and to have champagne with and to dance with and to, as some did, close the door and say, I don't let you out until you write an aria for me. And then say, okay, I write the most difficult aria for you. Here it is. Now go and sing it. So all these wonderful anecdotes make us close to him. But I didn't answer the question. What is the melody? I don't know. It's so much. I mean, really, the second movement of the clarinet concert. I mean, you know, they say bam bam ba 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 bam bam, but that's many birds.
So just make sure we can listen to that song, that melody on the radio station curated by you. If it's not on there, we will
absolutely
make sure. Actually, I think it's important also to point out that everything is interrelated. You talk about Mozart Woche, and you talk about Salzburg, and you talk about concerts happening physically. But in a way, you know, this DG label destination is the mirror image of what's happening here live. So the Vienna Philharmonic, they are the orchestra who've, you know, been part of this festival for almost 100 years here. And obviously it makes total sense that they are very present here as we feature on the topic of Salzburg. But next month, you know, the topic could be something else, different festival, different composer focus. And so this will always evolve, and we'll have close ties to the live business.
But that's a wonderful thing about this, really, because then it sends you and relates you to everything else. It opens the doors for people to then discover this music. As you said, with the Vienna Philharmonic, which we have a wonderful adventure and great plans for these next 5 years. And obviously, in the list that we have put together, they are present with a wonderful recording of Figaro with Abbado. And so it's everything comes together. And but the great thing about something like this is the reach that we have. You know, the festival, we invite the people. People have to come. This, we give the music to the people. And that's very important. The question is not only how do we bring people or young people, for example, to the classical concerts. The question is also, and we've always talked about it, how do we bring classical music to the society, to the young generations, that they turn the TV and they see classical music, even if they don't stay, but that they know that it's a part of who we are, that they go through this. I mean, here it's easy, it's everywhere, you can breathe it, but still it's not enough. We should do even more, and I think this platform is wonderful.
Absolutely. So what's the beauty is these people, I mean, there's the core classical fan community, they are there on Apple Music, but it's also younger demographics, people who have maybe just a vague interest in classical music, and now it's so easy and seamless to discover Mozart, for instance, you know, with this kind of guidance that you provide, and also, you know, it's not like in the old days in the record store where probably classical music was in the basement in the most distant niche. It's right there on the main page of Apple Music, and so people will go and discover and find the beauty in Mozart, and also find the very first complete opera that we released on any streaming platform, and it was actually the very first of, you know, all productions and of all labels. It's your performance of Romeo et Juliet by Gounod.
That's
that
an honor.
happened here in 2008, and so I invite you all and invite yourself to rediscover this wonderful production, and invite you all to check it out. Thank you so much for being
When
with us,
I will
Rolando.
finish with one thing regarding this, also in a very Mozartian way, Mozart wrote to the father, "Father, I just composed this, and the connoisseurs will appreciate the richness of the musical development of this. But the people who don't know anything about music will love it." That was Mozart, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. It's for the connoisseurs, and it's for the amateurs, and it's for those who want to discover. So congratulations, and it's wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rolando.
Thank you. Mozart lives. Thank you. Thank you. Ciao. Thank you.